Isn't it really the biggest avenue for people not to become Christian? Because they think like, bro, no more sex. Because in your mind, you're thinking, what's life without sex?
I thought the same thing, man.
Me too. The fact that we desire love, you know, somehow it's always connected to the opposite sex. But bro, I love you, bro, but I don't want to sleep with you.
You sure, bro? I'm not.
I'm absolutely sure.
Oh, bro, I'm dipping out.
And yet he never had sex. It's like, what? You mean all your life? Yes, never. No pornography, no masturbation, none of that. Nothing. And yet the life is to be desired for everybody. Everybody's trying to be like Jesus. It's like, man, there's obviously, clearly much more to life than sex.
Bro, so do you think sex is life's greatest pleasure?
Well, it's a tough question, eh? Because if you asked me in my 20s, I would have tossed between food and sex, and I would have probably resorted to sex because, you know, even though we had our sessions of the munchies, but our goals as a crew of boys was just girls.
Yeah.
You know, like every party, every mission, even if it meant driving to Wellington, it was like, bro, let's do it. Let's do it. And if it didn't happen, it was like a disappointment. It's like, yeah, we were with the bros all night. Yeah, music was playing. But if you didn't get a girl, it was like, bro, what a hopeless night, eh? Yeah. How about you, bro?
Yeah, man, same sort of experience. I think it is for most males, especially when you hit puberty, man, the hormones are going crazy.
Yeah.
You know, just hanging out with the bros, playing rugby. So I was in first 15, man, like heaps of attention from girls, and you could pretty much get anyone you wanted. So it was easy, man. Like, and that's all we would focus on. You know, Saturday we would play rugby. After that, man, we're hitting parties, trying to get out anywhere that we could find girls, man.
Yeah.
And that was the mission for the night. You know, it's cool to hang with your bros, but you know, it's like it's not the same unless you get a girl, man.
Yeah. You gotta have a happy ending at the end of the night. So I mean, that was teenagehood and 20s. You know, for not just me, like everyone who was in my circles, that was the deal. You know, and it was like, sadly, you know, that girl would be with that one and then with this one and that. So after a while, everyone knew, okay, that one's been with this one and this one and that one, and I've been with that one and this one. You know, it was kind of a common thing. And, you know, I think back and I think, wow, look at all the role models we had back then. You know, I'm thinking, I'm listening to Lollipop, I'm listening to Candy Shop, I'm listening to Nelly, Tip Drill, I'm listening to, you know, all the people that I idolized back then were all about girls. You know, it was like, man, if you want to be the man, real manhood is girls. And it was like lapping it up, whether it was movies, whether it was music, everything was just feeding into that idea that, bro, sex is the epitome of life's experience.
It's these role models that we used to look up to, you know. So when I was a kid, you know, obviously rugby was my thing. So I was looking to sports players, you know, basketball, rugby. And these guys are always in the media, you know, for sex scandals or something like that. But they could get girls, you know. They had no problem getting girls. You know, I look at NBA players now and I see, you know, he's got a wife and he's got a girlfriend and he's got a side chick and another side chick, you know. It's just never ending, man. So it's like...
You wanted to be Tiger Woods,
man,
bro.
I wanted to be them because
Totally.
when I looked at them, it's like they had the best life because they're making money. You're getting girls, man. Like, what could be better than that?
Yeah.
So that's the dream, man.
Yeah.
That's what I was going for.
Yeah. In fact, you know, out of all of our crew, I was probably the only one who wasn't trying to be a rapper. I was pursuing sport, but I think the ultimate goal, even though yes, there's a gold medal, yes, there's success. But I think above it all, there was the fact that, okay, once you're at that place, you can get any girl you want. That was really the ultimate story. So money, nice car. It all resorted to, okay, nice girls and as much sex as I can get, you know.
Yeah.
For you, for me, it started in Zimbabwe and then switched over to here. So I wasn't so much, to be honest, in the New Zealand circle because I was kind of a stranger in many ways. But for you here, it would have been the story all the way up.
And yeah, I don't know what it's like in Zimbabwe, but here, man, it was just about girls, man. Everything through high school. You know, I had a girlfriend at high school, and yeah, I look back on it now because she was nice, man. Like she was cool and she put up with a lot with me, but you know, I had her just to hang around with and spend time with. But bro, as soon as a new girl came on the scene, bro, that's what I was going for,
Yeah.
man. Like,
Yeah, so I got caught up at the end of my high school years because my mom got married and then I had to move out at the last year of high school. So then I was the only one who had a car, who had a flat in Sandringham. And so it was like the ultimate freedom, no accountability anymore, no more sneaking out the window, no
Yeah,
more
yeah,
stealing the car. So from that point on, you know, it was just downhill from there, you know, in terms of that. And all my mates knew Clayton's house is the place to be. And so everyone on a mission would be coming to my house. Even if I wasn't there, I could get home and find people busy in my house, you know. But it certainly became just the narrative of our teenage experience. And you're talking about having girlfriends, you know, I'm thinking, wow. When I left Zimbabwe, I had a girlfriend. We never slept together. We had the normal teen dating, writing letters and kissing and all of that.
writing letters.
Stuff that everyone used to do. Bro, yeah.
Bro, how old
you
are you,
never wrote
man?
letters. I couldn't afford a phone back then. We didn't even have internet. Anyway, I moved here, you know, and in my heart, I thought, man, I'm going to marry this girl. And then once the whole sex phase began, you know, it was almost like I completely forgot about anything like commitment, marriage. It was all about just getting a hit, you know.
Bro, do you know what's funny? Because when you're saying that, I was exactly the same way. Like, I could never see myself getting married because then I'm like, I'm gonna have to be tied down to one person. But because at that time, I just wanted multiple women, man. So it was like, marriage was, man, that was a foreign idea to me.
Totally. And I'm even thinking, like, you know, because of porn, unfortunately, it becomes more of a curiosity. It's like, oh, I wonder what it would be like to be with an Asian person or a white girl or this person, you know. And then it's more like just an experiment, you know. Like you're tasting food at a buffet.
Exactly. You just pick out what you want at the time.
Exactly.
Man. Yeah.
You know, it's like, what's on the menu for today? Bro, serious stuff, man. I don't even know what I was thinking. You can understand why people use the term dogs. Because, you know, like... any chance you would take it, you know. I remember people would be in the back seat of cars. All of that kind of stuff was just the thing, and people were bragging about that. You know, it's like, oh yeah, the back of the car or whatever.
It's funny because it was like pushing you to things you would not normally do. You know what I mean? Like
things that were never acceptable.
Exactly. You would like miss school. You would go to any lengths. You know, back of the car in public, anywhere that you could get it. Which you would never normally do unless you were chasing after that. So it was crazy, man.
It's buzzy, that people say love is blind, you know, but in reality, lust is blind, you know, because really when you're wanting to get that, you can't think straight, you know. You're like a dog on heat, you know. You're just you can't be stopped.
Yeah, well, I guess like as you're growing up, you know, when you first do that, it's amazing, man. Like
it is.
It really does feel like life's greatest pleasure, right? Like it's
You've never experienced
you
anything
never experienced
like
it, man. Like it's the best feeling, you know, best things ever, and you really think that that's the pinnacle of life's existence, man. So you know, I know why. I can see why that's what we were going after because it just seems so good, you know.
There is real positive feelings and vibes after it, you know. Interesting, yeah. And I find it interesting also that, you know, in spite of our pursuing of sex so much, I never pictured any of the girls that everyone was sleeping with, or even the ones that were kind of like tap and gap, as wifey material. It's like, bro, there's no way I could marry someone like that, which is ironic, you know, that here I am sleeping around with as many girls, and yet I wouldn't want to marry a girl who slept around with as many guys, you know, which is like, huh?
It's a backwards thought, eh? But it's funny because I would, you know, you'd try find that you could find the easy chicks, you know, you'd find the easy ones, and you're like, okay, apparently she's got a reputation for getting around, so then, you just hit her up.
Yeah. No,
And it's seal the deal, man. Like, it's easy stuff, but you would never think about marrying them.
never.
And it's funny because you're the one who are pursuing them to have sex with.
Never. I sadly lost my virginity to one of those kind of girls.
Yeah.
I would have thought, my first love or something like that. There was sort of
The fairy tale,
a
man.
fantasy fairy tale in my mind about my first time,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, it was cheap. It was sneaking in through a window.
Yeah, same.
And it was no special person that I was in love with. It was just like, okay, I just want to feel what it's like. And this is the first candidate in line, so let's get it over and done with. Which I regret, because now forever, my first memory is tied in with someone that I've got no emotional connection to. So I thought I was taking from her, and yet, she might be like, gotcha. Gotcha, bro. So why is it then that they're not wifey material? Why wouldn't you marry someone, because it seems like, if sex is such a big deal, then you want someone who's experienced, right?
Logically, yes, that would be right. I don't know, man. I think as men, like, I think deep down everyone wants someone who hasn't been with everyone else. Really, that's what someone wants, because you don't want to share yourself with someone who's been with everyone else. Everyone's had a ride.
Yeah.
So I think deep down everyone wants to be that one person for that person. But now I think like everyone's pretty much a sex crazy, man. Like the whole world is going that way, And everyone's got OnlyFans or dating apps, man. Like when I was on dating apps, you could message someone, you match one day, you could be sleeping with them that night. Do you know what I mean? It's
bro,
that
easy.
easy.
Sorry, I can't relate, bro. Sorry, I can't relate. It was before my time. No, not before after my time.
You're already married, so yeah. But for me, like anyone on dating apps, they can relate with this because you can get a match, send a few lines here and there. You can meet up with them that night and you can be sleeping together. It's literally that easy to get sex. So, I mean, because it's so readily available and it feels good, it's like, why wouldn't you pursue that, man? Why wouldn't you go for it?
Drive through. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, so my only experience wasn't a first-hand one. It was just, a friend of mine rang me up. She wanted to talk to me because she had just matched with a guy on a dating app. He came over to her place, and she was genuinely seeking for a boyfriend to become a husband. And he just pressured her, tapped, gapped, and she was like cut up real bad. And she rang me to kind of unload. It's like, wow, this is what's just happened. And it was like, okay, what can I do? I can just say, hey, look, you gotta shut up shop, man. You can't open up for someone that you're expecting to be hubby. It's like if you're getting the milk, why buy the cow?
As you can relate. We would say anything to women to be able to sleep with them.
Yeah.
So I think females are a lot more emotionally in tune. So if you give them sweet words and say you love them and all this stuff, they're more likely to sleep with you. And men are smart because that's what they do these days. Because they know they can get sex.
And I suppose that's why there was all those pickup lines. I don't know if you remember. Is your father from McDonald's? Because I'm loving it. So there was a heap of those kind of pickup lines, and they were always for guys because guys use them as cheesy pickups for girls.
Yeah.
Because they knew that the girl would be like, oh.
Yeah. And
then they get what they want, just by finding a way to the heart. But how many lies were told? I'm thinking, wow. Man. You hang out, you laugh, but in the back of your mind, you're not even really interested in the conversation. It's just like, okay, how can I get to the moment when we can kind of have a moment,
Yeah, I look back on those times now and I feel bad, man.
It's terrible.
It's like, how many people's hearts did you break? How many people did you lie to? How many people's time did you waste? And even taking sex from them, because sex is something special,
Totally.
It's sacred, man. Like, and you just take it like it's something cheap.
Yeah.
When we wouldn't want that with our wives, every other man sleeping with them. But you don't mind taking it from them, but they're going to end up being someone's wife in the end, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm thinking, all of that sexual baggage, when you finally find your Mrs. Right or Mr. Right, and okay, they've been with everyone else, like all of that is in is in their mind. All the experiences, all of that is just baggage that you end up carrying that robs you from your special person. So it's not as special anymore because they don't do what the last person did, or they don't do this as nice as the other person, and you can't help going there.
Because how many girls would you say, like, when you meet them and you're starting to date them, and maybe I was only looking for sex, but they would say, "Oh, I've been hurt before. This person has done this or did that." So like their past experiences of men just trying to sleep with them really just set them up to be guarded their whole way in life. Even though I was trying to do the same thing, ironically.
You play Mr. Nice Guy.
But you play nice guy, Mr. Nice Guy, but you can see it's really hurt them and affected them throughout their life. Yeah.
Bro, it's funny, eh? So in hindsight, I had a bro that would walk up to girls and be like, "Hey, do you want to sleep together?" Like straight out. Like no small talk, no build up, just like, "Hey, you want to do it?"
Yeah.
And I always thought, man, that's just rude, like, come on, at least be romantic, But in hindsight, even though I was playing, Mr. Nice Guy, if I could have got it quicker, I would have taken the easy option. I just didn't want to look so crude, So I had to play the greater deceiver. In fact, I think he was a nicer guy than I was because he wasn't pretending first.
He was just straight up.
He was just straight up. It's like, look, this is what I want. I'm busy. They're trying to play the serpent, but my goal is exactly the same. I've got no interest in the person at all. I just want to get in their pants. And like you say, I look back and I think, wow, I've got daughters. And the thought that someone could be thinking like that about my daughters, it scares me. It's like, whoa, and it makes me feel bad. And I've felt bad. But I also think that, because you've invested so much in 666, you believe it. So it's basically an outplaying of a reality that you're believing. So it's difficult to break away from it, because that's the way you think. That's what I believed, So as much as I deep down wanted love, I did want love. I did fall for the romantic movie like P.S. I Love You or Tight or whatever, where the guy and the girl fall in love and they're happy ever after. I did fall for that, and I've had glimpses of real love before. But even then, even the good girls who wouldn't want to sleep with me, you would leave them. Like, bro, I look back, I think, wow, I left the good girls for the ones that were easy. Yeah, and you can see the pressure that girls go through. I think back now, it's like, whoa, imagine being a good girl in that environment and everyone leaving you because you won't give in. You won't sell yourself cheap, Like, if you're not secure in yourself, it's easy to feel like you're not good enough, like, you're ugly, you're worthless. And yet in hindsight, in the back of every guy's mind, they're actually, like, I think back, every guy wanted to sleep with a girl who had never slept with someone, which means there was a prize to sleeping with a virgin. It was like, wow, this is such a precious thing. I'm her first, So if girls knew that, then they would never want to give it away so quickly, because every guy values that, in fact.
Bro, that's profound, man. Profound. Every guy values that. But girls give it away, because they think that that's the right guy.
Totally.
But if they were to save it for the right guy,
totally,
man, that would be special. Yeah.
That's deep stuff, man.
Yeah.
So obviously, sex is not a bad thing, In fact, the biggest regrets, even though there are many for the physical experience, but the biggest regrets are more emotional regrets, and what was done to others. So obviously, within its right context, sex is a beautiful thing. I can imagine there's Mr. Right and Mrs. Right. They get married, and they're committed to each other, and they can enjoy each other's love and each other's everything in the context of commitment, you know, and you really feel free, you can enjoy it as much as you want. Yeah, but I think it's more fulfilling when it's with someone that you love, you know, someone that you're committed to.
Yeah, definitely, man. But like something you said earlier, you know, it was so hard because we were stuck in that mindset. So deep down, all of us really want love, like you said, you know. We do want love. At the end of the day, everyone wants to be loved, but
Even Mr. Playboy.
yeah, even the Playboy, man, like he wants to be loved, because he gets that attention and you know, glimpses of love, I guess, from different women that he's going with. But the problem is that it gets so ingrained in us to want to chase after different women and just having sex with as many as possible, that even when the right one comes along, you're still looking at other women. And that's a massive problem I had.
Bro,
a massive problem
bro.
I had. And it took me years to really break free from that. Even when I was with girls, like I ruined relationships that were good relationships because I couldn't help myself, you know. I was always looking at the other woman because it was ingrained in me from a teenager, man.
Bro, you're taking words right out of my mouth, man.
And I was living like that. I was living that life for so long that it's just like you can't break free from it, you know. It's hard to change your mindset. And that was something that I thought was good for me to chase after sex, but it was just a train wreck, man.
Yeah. Bro, you just you just took me to a whole nother level there when you're talking, you know, because I suppose my biggest regret in all of that, you know, yes, I regret treating girls like objects for pleasure. I regret even selling my body, you know, assuming that I'm only taking from the girl I was giving myself. But my biggest regret, you know, is I had a best friend. You know, I had a best friend. We were tight. Anyway, we crossed the line, bro. We crossed the line.
Ooh.
We crossed the line, and it was never ever meant to go there. Anyway, it went there. Caught feelings, you know, got attached. Then she dumped me when she got pregnant. Found out she was pregnant, and then she dumped me because she thought I was a player.
Yeah.
You know, because of the kind of lifestyle, even though I wasn't a player in that setting, you know, because I felt like I had found something.
Yeah.
But because of who I had been, and you know, she knew I was, she dumped me. She was like, "This is not husband material." So in some ways, even girls don't want that guy, you know. So no girl wants that kind of guy anyway, as husband material, as father material, you know. And in the end, you know, I have a son. My firstborn son, you know, it was like the most incredible experience of my life to watch him being born, you know. It was like, like the moment in the labor room, it was like deep intimacy with no physical intimacy, you know, just witnessing, sharing that moment together, you know, but it was all a mess at this point, you know. I'd already messed up. You know, but it was just a glimpse of what could have been, you know. And now I have to look back and think, wow, my son says to me, you know, I don't have any real siblings. He doesn't have any siblings with the same mother, same father, because we're split up and he's got siblings on that side and this side. And that's my fault. You know, he could have had a family. He could have had a stable experience, but same situation I had, I passed it on to him, you know. So for me then, that was the season in my life when I experienced the greatest heartbreak, the greatest, disappointment. Unfortunately, you would think that I would sober up and now try and be a nice guy, but in fact, it actually pushed me. I went even worse now, you know, and then I was like, not even doing any long-term relationships. I'm just going to do friends with benefits. That's as far as I'm going. But then before long, I ended up in the same situation. So it ended up just a total mess. And like you were saying, you know, it always leads to heartbreak, broken homes, you know, children's lives are affected by the selfish passions of their parents. So then, you know, it was like the biggest wake-up call of my life, actually, because now I had 2 girls pregnant, and I didn't even know what I was doing, where I was going, covering up my story with lies about all of this, you know. I didn't even know how to tell my mom and explain how I had 2 girls pregnant. But then I started to think, you know, surely there's a better way to live life, because obviously what I've been pursuing hasn't paid off.
I have a relative actually that same sort of experience, but even to a higher degree. It's funny. He had a nickname. I think it was self-proclaimed, but he was called the Semen Demon.
Bro,
the Semen Demon, man, and the whole reason was because he would get this girl pregnant, then he would get another one pregnant,
Bro.
and then another one pregnant, and I don't know how many kids he's got, 7, 10 kids, something like that.
Bro.
But all of them grew up in a broken household.
Bro, tragic.
Because he couldn't control himself.
Tragic.
Like, he couldn't keep it in his pants, literally, man. Like, it was just that desire to go to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. He's estranged from half of his kids right now, and they never grew up with a dad. And a lot of them are messed up, And that's all a result. Those has been a ripple effect on multiple people's lives just because he was chasing after sex and just could never be fulfilled. Always wanted the next one.
Which is the great irony, that we chased after it so much and we were so unsatisfied, unfulfilled.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't enough. And you're just after it and the next hit and the next hit like a drug, and yet it never satisfied because that's really not what the heart was longing for. So bro, from that to obviously I'm sharing your secrets out now, but you're in a relationship now, 5 years, you haven't slept together. Like, bro, what? With an attractive girl, like, bro, who does that? I'm sure people are wondering who does that. But what brought you to that place to be like, okay, I'm just not. Like, who does that?
It sounds crazy, right? And most people that I've told are like, that's insane, man. Especially, because that's not normal. You got to try before you buy, man. So yeah, we're in a relationship and, things haven't always been smooth sailing because we both come from backgrounds where normally you would sleep with whoever you're with. So if you're not doing that, it's like, is there something wrong with me?
Yeah.
Do you not like me? Do you not love me? Do you not want to be intimate with me? So those are things that came up. And really the whole basis of our relationship, is based on biblical principles. I'm a Christian and my partner's also a Christian. And that's what we've put the foundation of our relationship, and we wanted to make it something special because both of us had experienced in our previous lives this lifestyle of, sleeping with whoever you
So
wanted.
were you a Christian then?
No, I wasn't a
No, you
Christian.
weren't,
I wasn't
okay.
a Christian. I was brought up a Christian, but at that time, I wasn't a Christian. So we had both come from that lifestyle. So it was a big change for both of us. And, even for me, like I said, it was hard to break out of that mold. We've known each other, for 5 years, but even in the early stages, there was things that I was doing that I shouldn't have been doing, especially against her, and we've discussed these things, but what is great is that she saw my weaknesses, but didn't hold that against me because that was something that was so ingrained in me from such an early age, and by the grace of God, He has helped me to get out of that mold because my purpose in life no longer is chasing after having sex as the greatest pleasure. It's now God has given me a new purpose that I want to do His will and I want to follow Him. And that's where I find my happiness and joy in life. And sharing that in a relationship, it's the best relationship that I've ever had out of anyone I've ever been with. And
Facts.
It's facts, man. Like, and every other girl I was with, I would say, oh, I love you. We're making love or whatever like that. But now when I look back on it, I don't even know what love was, man. Like, only love I've ever found has come from God, really. And so I didn't know what love was when I was with those girls. And I can only really truly say now that my partner that I'm with right now, that I can say I truly do love her.
Bro. And yet you haven't slept
And
with
I
her.
haven't
That's
slept
deep,
with her.
Brad. That's
Isn't
deep,
that
bro.
crazy?
That's
Isn't that
incredible.
crazy? We're not doing that, but we can
That's
say we love
incredible.
each other, and it's a deeper love than I've ever had
Incredible.
with anyone I was ever sleeping with.
Incredible.
And that came from, intimacy was spending time with each other, talking with each other, just being with each other, built that intimacy.
Bro.
And the love came because we had a true friendship.
I feel you, bro.
So without sex, if I've got a friendship with her that's deep, the love is there, and the sex is going to be something that's going to be added once we're married.
Totally.
But it won't be the pinnacle of our relationship. It won't be what our relationship is hanging on, man.
That's so profound because, I think to myself, imagine ending up with, I suppose, some of our previous relationships, where you're strangers, but you sleep together.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
after a while, you wake up, you think, wow, who is this person? I don't enjoy anything about their conversation. We
Yeah.
have got nothing in common. We don't like the same things to do, but we're just sleeping together. And imagine being then married, and then you think, wow, I'm now with this person forever, and I don't even know them. I don't even enjoy their company. A terrible thought, and then the family's bound to break up. What a disappointment.
I know people for certain that have experienced this. They started sleeping together before they got married, and then they got married because they thought that was love, but it was just the feelings from sex, and now the marriage has got many problems, and there's cracks everywhere, and
Sad.
they split up and stuff like this, and it's sad, man, because they thought the sex was the love, and it was blinding them, like you said. Not love is blind, it's sex is blind.
Bro. Man, that's deep. That's deep. I suppose my journey to no longer wanting to live like that, I shared a little bit, but actually what happened for me was after that mess, I was at a party one time in the North Shore, and then a friend of mine just put on a Christian DVD, just perked my interest. From there, I kind of started learning about the Bible. A guy would come, would sit down, a big bunch of us actually, same kind of crew, and he would start opening up the Bible. And for the first time after I started actually listening to it, 22, I was around the Bible, but never actually learned it. For the first time, I thought, wow, this is profound. God knows the future, because that's what I'd learned. It's like, whoa, God can foretell the succession of empire. So anyway, I knelt down in the garage because I had moved out. After I started seeking God, I moved out of my girlfriend's bed. I moved into a cold garage, sleeping with my head by the dryer. But I knew that it was the right thing to do, and it actually gave me great peace. And I thought, okay, I really need to clear my head and really make some real life decisions that are really important, because I was in a bit of a pickle at the time. And I remember kneeling down after I had learned about God and that he knew the future, kneeling down and saying, Lord, I'm in a mess, and I've just learned that you know the future, so please, if you can show me what I need to do, because I don't know how to fix the situation that I'm in. Now, I was the only one in that garage, and the next day, I was like, send me someone. It was very specific. I said, send me someone. The very next day, parked at BP on Swanson Road. A dude pulls up in a Nissan next to me. He's like, hey, bro. I was like, hey, bro. He insists I jump in his car. Like, no one does that. You're just like, yo, insists I jump in his car. I was like, okay, if you insist. Sat in and starts talking to me about my girlfriend, my wife now. But just saying things like, you guys are good together, you should pursue this relationship, like all of those kind of things. It was like, what?
Bro, that's crazy, man.
What are the chances that I prayed in the garage on my own, and this random event takes place at BP, totally in answer to what I had prayed for? It was so profound. So at that point, I knew that, okay, this is the girl that I'm going to settle down with. So I proposed to her. I made plans. We got married. And the reality, honestly, was that we weren't even at the stage where we were doing things the right way. We had done everything upside down, but we pulled apart, and it was like, reset button. Here's a chance to start over and do things right this time. And so that's what we had, after messing up. And I suppose it gives everyone hope in some way that, when you've messed up, you can start over.
Yeah.
And I can never regret the decision I made, that she's been the greatest wife, the best mother to my children, everything that, all the decisions that we were making at that point, which were totally contrary to what everyone would normally do, we just were united, Even when I was broke, she stood by me. So I couldn't have had a better wife, But it certainly would have been much easier if we had just done things the right way the first time. It would have just cleared my head. We wouldn't have been trying to kind of recover, Thanks for that sermon, bro.
Preach.
Preach it, brother. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I suppose, maybe on this note, the reality is that, there was an anchor that drove the change for you.
Yeah.
And for me, and I suppose what was it that made you then resolve that, okay, I'm not going to go down this path? Was it just the consequences that you had experienced, or the fear of messing up another relationship? What was it that anchored you in lasting 5 years without going there?
Yeah, I think what's anchored me in this relationship is, like I said before, it's a relationship that I've never experienced with anyone else before on a deeper level than people I was sleeping with.
Yeah.
But I think what anchors both of us, even though we struggle at times because we want to be intimate, because obviously we're into each other, but what anchors us really is God, And from reading the Bible, we can understand that God has a specific way of doing things. And if we're to follow those ways, then I know that our marriage will be completely blessed.
Yeah.
And that's what we both want. We both want to have a marriage that's blessed because we've both seen what the consequences are of living another life. And the old lives we were living were not happy at all. We weren't happy in any way. So if we choose to live this way, we feel like, we're going to get a great blessing in the end. And we want to do it God's way because we both love God.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. So that's what's really anchored us both to get to this point where we are right now.
Yeah.
And I can really say, hand on my heart, I couldn't be happier,
bro,
in this relationship than, I've never been this happy in any relationship I've ever been in before.
Yeah. That's why I'm never awkward if I'm a third wheel, because, it's not those kind of relationships where people are hooking up and you're just kind of like, all right. Yeah. I resonate with that, man. I think of, when I first just came to see Jesus for who he really is and who is portrayed to be in the scriptures, that here's someone who lived a full life. Everyone knows about Jesus. He's impacted lives all around the world. And everyone has a picture of Jesus being the ideal model for what living is. And yet he never had sex. It's like, what? You mean all your life? Yes, never. No pornography, no masturbation, none of that, nothing. And yet the life is to be desired for everybody. Everybody's trying to be like Jesus. It's like, man, there's obviously, clearly much more to life than sex, much more to life than food. But sex in this situation, it's like, he gives his life to serving other people. He heals the sick. He's out there feeding the hungry, doing work that really means something to everyone. It's like, man, if someone did that for me, that would mean more, and it's been remembered forever, whereas all my sexual experiences, it's like, where are they now? Gone, and just seeing that example for me, it was like, man, this is what real manhood is, this is what real living is. And the satisfaction that it brings to those who actually snap out of that daze of sex and think, actually, there's far more to life. I can say, hand on heart, bro, I've never, ever, I could never turn back. Honestly, I sit with my old bros and they're like, bro, man, I got this chick and that chick. I feel sorry for them. It's like, wow, bro, you're still there. You're still there at this day. And, often when the conversation gets deeper and there's no showing off, often they also say, man, I wish I had a stable family. I wish I had what you have. And, my greatest joys now, it's like I sit at the table with my family. I listen to my kids talking about their day. I listen to my wife telling me about what happened at school. I'm like full. I leave there feeling like, man, I'm good. What more could I want? And you think, man, how could people, because they believe falsely, leave family, leave one you truly love just for a 5-minute hit? 5-minute hit. It's like, surely there's got to be more, And I think to myself, the offer of Jesus is eternal life. Sex, eternal life. So supposing I didn't have to, I'm married, so I don't have to make that sacrifice. But even if I had to choose sex or eternal life, it's a no-brainer, bro. There's a movie, Freedom what?
What, Sound of Freedom?
Sound of Freedom.
No, I don't know if that's what it is.
Yeah. I just caught wind of it from one of the other guys I know. But, just the reality that you think of sex trafficking. Actually, you were the one talking about people who have been sexually abused when they're young.
Yeah, it's you think about the consequences of chasing after sex as well. It all sounds like fun and games, but actually it's messed up so many people, and it's messed up innocent people along the way. I think of heaps of my mates, even when we were at school in 20s. People were catching STDs, sexually transmitted diseases from everywhere, man, and it was rampant because you're just sleeping around. And if that goes untreated, it can do major damages to your body. But yeah, like we were talking about earlier, there's people who have been sexually molested as children, and hundreds and
Heaps.
thousands of people around the world, and it messes them up in life. And really, what has happened is that it's because someone has some perverted sexual desire, and they're chasing after that next hit, like we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you molest a kid or you molest someone else, and they grow up to have to deal with those consequences, and
possibly fall on the same path.
Exactly. A lot of people have been molested, ended up molesting others, or they turn out gay because it's messed them up so much
they can't relate to their own sexuality and can't understand.
They can't relate to the opposite sex. Might have been a man that did it to a girl, and now she can't look at men in the same way again, so she goes for a girl and she becomes gay. It's like these are consequences that are affecting people, all from someone having sexual desires that they can't control. And they think that that's going to bring in happiness, man.
Bro. Things just got serious in here, man. but straight up, I think of all the stories of people who struggle with their sexuality, most of them have some sort of sexual abuse story to begin with, and then all of a sudden you hate who you are, because everything you are reminds you of that experience. And I remember listening, I can't remember what the documentary was by Ron Woolsey. And he was saying, because his first sexual experience was with a man who sexually abused him. So then for him, his first experience was perverted. It was like, it was that way inclined. And so then he developed an appetite for that direction because
they think
of it.
That's what's normal,
Yeah, because that's your experience, And, as perverted as this may be, it's difficult to even say, but, just because rape is bad and it's terrible, it doesn't mean that the process of that terrible act is gonna be painful. Sometimes maybe it's not very painful. It might be a good feeling, but you hate the fact that it's being forced upon you. And so then as a result, you still pursue sex clearly, but it's a perverted form all of a sudden, which is, I think, the greatest tragedy, actually. Thinking of the fact that people get sex changes because they hate themselves so much. They can't be content with what God made them to be. But a lot of the time, it's really not their fault. They're confused, Tragic, bro.
It is, man.
Yo. Yeah. So I think maybe, bro, it'll be good to hear from you. What's the alternative? Or did we already say about the alternative? What is the alternative? Because for someone who's thinking, man, what else do you look forward to in life? Seriously, for someone, especially people in their teens, early 20s, thinking, what else do you look forward to? Because especially if it's, you get drunk and that in itself makes you feel like it. When you drink alcohol, you totally feel like it, even though you would anyway, but it makes it worse. But what's the alternative? Because you've never drunk either. But what's the alternative lifestyle? Because obviously we're both Christians, what is really the Bible offering?
I think, from going from that lifestyle to what I'm living now is just, I felt empty, before, because I never really had someone that I wanted to be with. So chasing after sex with everyone just left me feeling empty in the end. And I didn't feel like I was really anyone's, or I didn't have anyone to love me, and I didn't really love anyone back. So it gave me a false sense of what relationships really were and what love was. And it's not until, I stopped focusing on trying to please myself and chasing after my own pleasures and, focusing my attention on God and what His plan is for my life and what He wants to do with my life is not until I found, true happiness. And that's not in seeking after my own pleasures. And yeah, that happiness came, and I had that with my partner now.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're more happy than I had been with anyone previously.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely changes your mindset
Yeah.
on what you think true happiness really is. And I've never felt any peace in my life ever before then since
No.
I've been a Christian, since I've known God.
But bro, don't people think that when you become a Christian, then all fun is over? It's precisely, I think, why most guys delay becoming Christians until they're later in life, or don't want to, because it blocks this particular avenue. It's like, bro, I can't have sex. No,
Bro.
because they think of priests.
Yeah,
most
yeah.
priests don't have sex,
Yeah.
even though that's not really what the Bible is proposing.
Yeah.
But isn't it really the biggest avenue for people not to become Christian? Because they think like, bro, no more sex. Because in your mind, you're thinking, what's life without sex?
I thought the same thing, man.
Me too.
I was thinking the same thing. And I think it's not until you experience it
Totally.
and you're not doing that, but you're with someone that you care about more than ever before, it's completely different.
Yeah.
Because it makes it more special.
Yeah.
Sex isn't the main factor for having a great relationship.
Totally.
But everyone thinks it is.
That's right.
There's so much more to a person because you might hate the person that you're with,
That's right.
You might not like them.
And even, like, the fact that we desire love, somehow it's always connected to the opposite sex. But bro, I love you, bro, but I don't want to sleep with you.
You sure, bro? I'm not.
I'm absolutely sure.
Oh, bro, I'm dipping out.
The fact is that maybe, there's so much loneliness.
Yeah.
So much loneliness, so much brokenness, that it's just playing out, and this is how it's outplaying, but it's difficult to confront that, and so we're kind of putting this shield around us, trying to look like the man, trying to look like the cool guy, but actually deep down, we're empty.
Yeah.
We're depressed. We're lonely. We don't feel like anyone loves us. And so we're just kind of living out the very things that we're really experiencing and treating people how we really feeling inside. But when you do find true love, which is what obviously real Christianity is offering, not just love, but sound wisdom, good instruction, it fills you up. You focus on friendships, building love relationships with human beings and with God. And it's like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, and what's interesting is because everyone is looking for love, and if you don't have God in your life, you're looking for that person to give you love,
Totally.
Whoever it is. But the thing is, naturally, we can't even give love. We don't even know what love is because we're so messed up most of the time in our lives. How can I give you what true
Everyone
love
wants to be taking, so
exactly
who's the one giving?
Who's the
Yeah.
one giving? And whoever is giving it, are they even giving what true love is? And that's the difference, because my partner, because she is a Christian, I feel a different sort of love from her that I haven't experienced before.
Yeah.
And that's solely comes down to because she has a relationship with God. So God love comes through her, and that's something that that I see, which is so unique, which I haven't found anyone else before. Because
It's like pure love without an agenda.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
trying to get something out of it.
it's just
deep, bro.
it's an unconditional love.
That's deep, bro.
That's given to you, not expecting, you have to sleep with me.
Yes.
You have to do that
Yes.
to love me. Like you said, you're made,
Yeah.
If you love me, you'll sleep,
sleep
with
with
me.
me.
There's none of that.
Totally.
So it's just a love that I've never experienced before. But, people, and that's why people are so unhappy, because
That's
they haven't
serious,
experienced that love either.
That's deep. Because, even in marriage, believe it or not, sex is a big issue in marriage because, often many unsatisfying marriages is because the wife feels like all the husband wants is sex, and she doesn't want to just give sex. She wants love, and the husband doesn't know how to give love. All he
Yeah.
knows how to give is sex because we've never known love,
Exactly.
And the reality is, I look back now, I think, wow, marriage then gets broken because there's no sex. But actually, even if there wasn't, say you became impotent, or you got crushed in the privates and
I hope not,
stopped
man.
working, like, that's not a deal breaker.
Nah.
It's like someone gets hit by a bus and he can't do that anymore. It's like, oh, sorry, bro, I gotta move. I gotta find someone else. It's not a deal breaker because there's so much more to a marriage than that. It's like, no, I promise to love you in no matter what the case is. And so that's my vow, and I'll love you that way. And even for the intimacy experience, Bro, you ready for this?
Say it, bro. Say it. I'm ready, man.
Like, you know, for me, I'm not content if I haven't given my wife that experience of love and pleasure within our marriage intimacy. It's like before,
It was all about you.
it's called tap and gap
Yeah,
for a
yeah,
reason.
yeah.
It's like tap and gap, and now it's like it feels incomplete, you know, if that's not the case, because really my desire is to please her,
Yeah.
and to make it a gift for her benefit rather than just taking, you know.
Bro, that's deep, man.
It's deep. Yeah, I mean that doesn't mean that I'm not needy at
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
But genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, even when I'm desiring, I also, you know, I realize that there's far more to our relationship, but I also want her to have a wonderful experience, a happy ending.
Yeah.
Bro, I think this is enough sex talk for a day.
Bro, we could go on all day, man.
All day. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, you know, I think everything that we wanted to say has been said, you know, and if anything else can be taken out of this, you know, the reality that, you know, we were created with a purpose much higher than animals, because for a dog, you know, it's like when it's in heat, it's time for that, and food. That's pretty much all life has to offer for them. You know, in saying that, dogs do have that whole love experience with humans, but I think in general, animals, that's pretty much their main things in life, and humans were made in the image of God, and there's a much greater purpose than just that in procreation, so that even if you don't get married, even if you're on your own, you can still form love relationships and live a satisfying life just by, you know, living for others and loving God. I think you can still totally be good, man. And see you around too.
All right, bro.
Sweet, bro.